Am I the a-hole? My wife and her friends staged an ambush to pressure me into a vasectomy. So I shared the video with their husbands, potentially ending multiple marriages. This is a long one, so apologies in advance, but I am still livid about the weekend before last. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. Me, 45M, and my wife, 45F, have been together for 23 years, but only married for 2. Anyway, my wife has been trying to pressure me to get a vasectomy for about a year. She's gone through all the usual manipulative tactics, saying we've had our child, we're one and done, he's 19 and in college now, so it's not like birth control has been a major issue over the years, that it's time for me to step up, that it shouldn't just be on her to deal with birth control, that I'm being selfish, blah, 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 blah. When she first asked about the possibility of a vasectomy, I told her very calmly that there are absolutely no circumstances under which I will ever have a vasectomy. I explained my reasoning and that I will not entertain the topic at all. However, I was happy to discuss alternate options of birth control if she wanted to stop taking the hormonal pills. Since that conversation, there have been countless less than subtle hints that she wants me to consider a vasectomy. I shot each one down politely. Fast forward to the weekend before last. I got back from running some errands on Saturday afternoon to find a full-on intervention/ambush set up in my living room. There was my wife, her mother, my sister, and 4 of her friends. I happened to be friends with all 4 of their husbands and obviously my brother-in-law, which is an important point for what followed. They had set themselves up in a semicircle on the couches and put one of the dining room chairs in the center, classic power play setup. I was immediately annoyed and knew that this was going to be some pathetic attempt at peer pressure and manipulation. My wife motioned towards the chair and said, "We need to talk." I said, "Fine," but walked straight past the chair that had been put out for me and told the friend sitting in my armchair to move. My house, my chair. Also, one of our indoor security cameras is pointed towards that chair from across the room, and I had a feeling that the video was going to be important. I sat down and waited for them to rearrange themselves, then said, "Okay then, let's hear whatever pre-prepared bullshit you've got for me." They looked at each other. I'd clearly thrown them off their script. Then they launched into all the usual arguments for a vasectomy, i.e., how it's relatively easy, a minor surgery, very low risk, can be reversed if needed, doesn't have any effect other than limiting the risk of pregnancy, that I need to step up, that it's not fair that my wife is responsible for birth control, and that a real man would do this for his wife. After they'd been talking at me for 10 to 15 minutes, I'd had enough. I stood up. I'm 6 feet 6 inches, so just standing made them all go quiet. I looked at them for a moment, trying to suppress the rage that was close to boiling over, and told them, "I don't have to explain why I decide to do something with my body or not to anyone, but I'll give you some context that is part of my reasoning. I have 8 friends I know for sure have had a vasectomy. 4 are husbands of people in this room, including my brother-in-law. Of those 8, 6 openly say they felt pressured into it by their wives and wouldn't have done it otherwise. 4 had complications, of which 1, my brother-in-law, had major complications that resulted in a follow-up surgery. 2 others have had consultations about reversal due to ongoing pain, and all 8 report a noticeable difference in orgasm, and not for the better. So am I going to have an unnecessary surgery that, in the experience of my friend group, has a 75% chance of regret, a 50% chance of complication, a 25% chance of wanting it reversed, a 12.5% chance of serious complication, and a 100% chance of decreased pleasure in orgasm? No, I am not. And no amount of manipulation, coercion, guilt-tripping, or peer pressure is going to change the fact that it is my body and my choice. I am more than willing to discuss alternate options, but if I hear the word vasectomy ever again, I will be filing for divorce. I wasn't quite shouting, but it was taking every ounce of my self-control not to. They all looked shell-shocked. In hindsight, I think they were trying to work out where their husbands fit into that list. My wife had gone completely white. After a moment, one of her friends said, "Well, if he's going to be so stubborn about it, don't have sex with him anymore." I literally laughed in her face and told her, "That's an option, but if she wants to be a roommate instead of a wife, then she won't be my wife for much longer." Again, silence. My mother-in-law rallied first and started calling me weak and a coward who's scared of a minor surgery. My wife remained silent, looking at the floor. This went on for what felt like forever, probably less than a minute, before I finally lost it. I won't put exactly what I said, as I'm not exactly proud of the language used, but I basically shouted that if they weren't out of my house in the next 30 seconds, I would physically throw them out. Then, this is where I might be the a-hole, I pointed at the camera and said, "You'd better hurry. I'll be sending the video of this little chat to all of your husbands as soon as the door closes." They all panicked and ran out. I'm not usually vindictive, but I did immediately send the video link to the group chat we, the husbands and a few other male friends, have with one line, "Our wives seem to think my body, my choice only applies to them." The response was almost immediate. Within 30 minutes, the group chat exploded with anger that our wives thought it was acceptable to stage this ambush and apologies that they didn't know what they were planning. So this was Saturday before last, and there's been a lot of fallout. My sister and brother-in-law had a massive argument that day, after seeing what he went through, How could she try to pressure someone else to do it? And he went to stay with his brother. To my knowledge, he hasn't gone back yet. One of the friend's husbands walked out, saying he wouldn't be in a relationship with such a manipulative BH, according to what he told the group chat, but I'm pretty sure they were having major problems anyway. My parents called asking what happened after my brother-in-law left. Turns out my sister was spinning some sort of story where I was the villain, so I just sent them the video too. They are disgusted with my sister and my wife. Apparently, the other 3 of my wife's friends also had huge arguments with their husbands, but I don't know any details. Also, my mother-in-law isn't talking to me, so there is that silver lining. After the ambush, my wife was quiet for the rest of the day, but when she learned 2 husbands had walked out just because their wives were involved in the attempted manipulation, she seems to have realized that she majorly miscalculated, that she has no right to demand what happens to my body, just like I have no right over hers, and that I was serious when I said I would file for divorce. All week she has been very apologetic and begging me to forgive her. I don't know if we are going to be able to get past this. She knew my position and still tried to pressure me into a surgery I will never have. I feel that is a complete lack of respect for my bodily autonomy and a betrayal of my trust. I'm still beyond angry at all of them. So, am I the a-hole for sending the video link to the husbands and putting 5 marriages in trouble? P.S. If you want to comment some crap about how I should just do it, you are wasting your time and energy. I am not some pathetic weak-willed guy who will be pushed into doing something I don't want to do.